Thank you very much for joining us.
Good to be here.
I want to talk to you about the Confederate flag in South Carolina. It looks like it's just a matter of time before it comes down. What will that do in terms of improving race relations?
I think it's a major thing that has to happen, and it will happen. I agree, and I applaud the folks in South Carolina for doing that. I also applaud the governor of Alabama for doing what he's done, taking down the flag. But that's simply not enough. That is simply a symbol of bigotry, a symbol of racial hatred, a symbol of inequality for me and for so many others. Now we must begin to address racial disparities and inequalities themselves. And I think that's the most important thing. Again, it's good to take the flag down, but now we have to move beyond that.
Well, I want to pick up on that. President Obama, when he spoke at Reverend Pinckney's funeral, said something, and I want to play it and get your reaction to it.
But it would be a betrayal of everything Reverend Pinckney stood for, I believe, if we allowed ourselves to slip into a comfortable silence again. Once the eulogies have been delivered, once the TV cameras move on, to go back to business as usual.
I want to ask you about that idea of business as usual. You're from in your district where just a few months ago there was rioting in the streets over the question of the murder of Freddie Gray. What's the situation like in Baltimore? Got a lot of attention for a short period, but have things slipped back to business as usual? Or what's being done there now? No,
they have not slipped back as business as usual. I think the mayor has worked very hard to pull us together. And we have a program now called One Baltimore. What we saw after the disturbances was a lot of people of goodwill came forward, opened their eyes and said, you know what, we can do something about it. So we had philanthropic organizations, nonprofits, state government, President Obama and his administration all coming together to try to begin to address things like joblessness and the criminal justice system, and trying to make sure that police were respecting the people who they have pledged to serve and protect, but also making sure that the community respect the police. And so there's a lot happening in Baltimore. We have a long way to go, but I don't think Baltimore will ever be the same. Is it going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy. Dealing with problems that have been systemic for so long, it's going to be very difficult. We have to, for example, address our education system. So many of our children feel that they are not getting the education they need to be functional in our society. So we're looking at all of those things and giving it everything we've got. But I have a lot of hope for Baltimore.
When you think about what's happened in Baltimore, and then you were there at the service on Friday, you talk about hope. The president tried to talk about that too. What do you think? What did you take from his remarks in terms of trying to address some of these standing problems about race in America, both in Baltimore but also in Charleston?
Well, I think what the president was saying is that we need to pull the blinders from over our eyes, and that we don't have the right to remain silent about what we see. In the past, we have put Band-Aids on the symptoms. Said, okay, we got a problem here, so we'll do something there and here. But the fact still remains that what the president was trying to say, I think, was that we've got to look at things like health care. I mean, think about South Carolina. We've got 136,000 people who could be getting health care under Medicaid, under the Affordable Care Act, that are not, because the governor and the legislature won't sign off. And there are other states that are doing the same things. I mean, those are the kinds of things that go to the quality of life of African Americans and other people. We got to look at joblessness. We also have to look at the criminal justice system. And I think that's what the president's saying. Let's begin to act. It's nice to talk, but at some point, the talk has to turn into deeds to actually affect people's lives from day to day.
All right, Congressman Cummings, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.